What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and this video we gotta talk about the ending of this Activision Blizzard saga. Obviously, we're 12 plus hours, past the time that it happened now, but thank God, thank God in the sense that it's finally over, okay? That's the main kind of emotion, I guess, that I want to give off or want to talk about. I'm just glad this thing is over. It went on way, way, way too long, through the ups and downs, of course, and there were some interesting storylines throughout, and, my favorite part, if we're doing like a recap thing, my favorite part was kind of the internal emails. It's always fun to see what Jim Ryan's feeling or saying or thinking, and same thing for Phil Spencer and all of these, kind of what could have been situations of, was Xbox really thinking about Nintendo and, certain things like that. That was probably the most fun to kind of get a peek behind the curtain there, but we're finally done. It's gone through. All of these games get welcomed into the Xbox family, and now comes, this is the important part. Look, we've talked so much. We talked for years at this point about the idea of acquisitions and who's it good for, what's best for the industry and all that stuff. And I'm sure we'll be having those conversations as Square Enix eventually gets bought, or Saga, or, whoever, right? I'm sure those are coming. And a lot of this stuff will be brought back up of, is it good for Tencent to buy these things, this and all that. But now where we're at is it's a done deal. And, you can have the negative opinions on it, positive. I don't care where you guys are at. I totally respect what you want to, say about the deal. As long as you respect me, I'll respect you. And now it's about what they do in the future. And I will say this, it's on two fronts. I talk a lot about games, right? Like, I care about the games, I care about the products, I care about the escapism and all that stuff. Obviously, like the people working on the games, they're pretty important too. And like that workplace kind of culture, I think sometimes it's a little over-exaggerated, but ultimately what I'm hinting at here, there are some problems inside of Activision Blizzard, right? We talked about like Bobby Kotick and just things that allegations and all sorts of stuff that seemingly happens in Activision Blizzard. This is not as easy as I think just saying, signing the document and saying, okay, welcome in, like get to work. And you've already been to work, and I guess I'll check in on you kind of monthly, right? If you're Phil Spencer, it's not that easy. This is about integrating them into an ecosystem, and not just, again, like we've talked about, the prototypes of the world, like bring it back. The Crash and Spyro, like you have it now, do what you will with it. StarCraft, can we get that back? Guitar Hero, we've talked about Transformers and Spider-Man. I made videos on most of these, franchises that you can think of, most moves that could be made right now. I feel like I've already covered it, right? So you have that, and that is extreme. Let's be honest, or I'll be honest, that's the most important thing to, like, the games, because I'll buy them if they're good and I'll cover them. Of course I want to cover them, right? So that's what I'm super into. But they got some real things, on the other side of the fence. You look at Blizzard, or what they've done to something like a Diablo, like this whole Diablo fiasco that happened with the season pass and all these cosmetics or microtransactions. Like, there's some bad stuff that happens like all the time in both Activision and Blizzard. You could argue like, well, Crash, was it a good idea to go down a multiplayer only game? Crash Team Rumble, right? Why did you do that? And I've said 1,000 times, I actually really love that game. Is that game built to last? No. Is it lasting? Absolutely not. But something as simple as that, right? That's more maybe analytical. Why did you choose to make a game like that? And then if it was a mistake, are you ever going to make that mistake again now that, Microsoft owns you? So there's some stuff, obviously, the games themselves, you got franchises to bring back, reboot, put on Game Pass, right? Like, that's obviously a huge part of it. You have the long-term effects of having COD and having Diablo. So there's a ton of games that need to be, whether it's brought back or sequel, like Spyro, right? Spyro 4, you continue Crash, you maybe try to tinker with some of the live service elements and games like that. But then also the more personal stuff, a lot of the issues that you hear in the news, or, people are getting fired for certain things, like that stuff it's got to stop. Now, it's got to stop, I think, across the entire industry, right? You hope for the best, or you want the best for these people in any field, in any of these industries, right? But now you got, like a big dog here, a big boy in Microsoft that spends all this money. And yes, the games, in terms of like the bottom line and ultimately upsetting or exciting and making people happy, right? Both sides of that. It's the games, right? It's not necessarily the average Joe who goes on the PlayStation Store to get a game, or an Xbox Store, right, to get a game. they don't care really about how they might think like nicely of people that work on it, but they're not going to care about the day-to-day of the people that work on the games. That's something that you also, though, have to make sure that you're improving, fixing, whatever it may be. So those are kind of two of the main aspects I think of when I think of this deal. Obviously, we've highlighted the prototype, like StarCraft 3 or something new, StarCraft, Spyro 4, prototype, getting those, at least the Transformers games on Game Pass just to kind of bring them back. If you can do the Activision Spider-Man games, like the Edge of Time, Shattered Dimensions, if you can do that, that's kind of like, a top 3-4 wish list that I personally have, and hopefully it happens. Hopefully they do some good things, and, final point again, we can stop talking about it. We can talk about, obviously, what's going to happen afterwards and if they're succeeding or not in in their plan, but in terms of will it, won't it kind of thing, that's over. So that's good. I'm honestly very happy that's good. Whether I like it or don't like it, at least it's freaking finished. We don't have to talk about it anymore. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure, as always, you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.